Hello, hello. Can everyone hear me okay? So there are four of us and three cameras, but we're all in the same room. So I'm Jared.
I'm Bridget.
Chrissy McLaughlin.
Hi, I'm Nicole.
And just to prove that we're in the same room, look. There's Wade. He's the tech support. Cole. Chrissy. All right.
We're all here.
But we are a crew, so we needed a little extra space and a few more. We couldn't all fit in one camera. So if you wouldn't mind in the chat just introducing yourself, we'd love to hear where you hail from, what you do. We still have some people kind of coming in. We hope that the chat is active, and we also hope that you are willing to grab your mic, raise your hand, turn on your mic too, and participate. We are a relatively small group, so everyone has time to talk and share.
And with there being so many of us, if you put things in the chat, we're going to be able to get back to you pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, look, we have a good morning.
Hey, Rebecca, thank you. Frederick County, ITC, awesome.
Jonathan from Prince William.
Nice.
Where's Russell?
Where's
I
Russell?
don't know where
County?
that is.
That's Virginia, right, Kathy? I'm new. I'm a transplant. That's Virginia, right? Okay.
Yeah, none of
Has
us
to be.
actually are from Virginia.
No, that's
Like,
right.
We all have moved here.
Yeah.
Yeah, from PA,
New York.
from New York.
And from
Galaxies.
Google Maps says Russell is Southwest Virginia.
All right.
Hey, we also
Got
got
tech
Shannon.
support and Google support. Thank you.
So I'm from a very rural part of Utah as well. 2,000 people. No one ever heard of it except for the gas station. Everyone stops at the gas station. So I know how it is to be overlooked. There used to be a sign outside of Fillmore, Utah that said, "You have a friend in Fillmore," and that's me. I'm your friend in Fillmore. Okay, so we got Nikki. Thank you. Okay, so it sounds like we have a lot of ITCs. We're all over the state. We're really excited to share with you some resources that we've been working on for a long time,
Yes.
but really thrilled to share it out with you. So me, I'm at George Mason University. I'm the co-academic program coordinator for the Learning Technologies in Schools program. I've been here for about 10 years. The original plan was to be in Virginia for 3 years, and that's been 10, and we're loving it. I don't think we'll leave.
Hi, I'm Nicole Sandrovich. I have ed tech coach because I like that term better than SBIT in Fairfax County. And I actually did the master's program at George Mason. Dr. Borup was my professor. And so now we're here.
I'm Bridget Jasko, fifth grade teacher at Fairfax County. Also went through the program with Dr. Borup. And we realized how great he was, and all three of us have just like not let go, even though we've graduated. We're just we're staying connected.
And I'm Chrissy McLaughlin. I'm a sixth grade advanced academics teacher, soon to be SBITS. So excited. And I am also a graduate of the master's program, Blended Online Learning, and happy to be here today with you.
Okay, so we all have been part of the Learning Technology in Schools graduate program. If you're interested in this, please send me an email. We do have a booth if you're local, but I'm guessing none of you are. Booth 518. And guess what?
You could win an Apple Watch.
Hey, beautiful. She's my hype person.
Yeah.
So
Come.
there's a physical booth, but if you're not here, send me an email and I'll enter your name. Right now we have like 3 entrants because we just started, so it's a pretty good chance you might actually win that. And regardless if you win or not, you will learn more about the program. So that's a win in itself.
And since we're all over Virginia, who's in this call, it is a fully virtual program.
Right.
So you don't have to be in Fairfax to be part of the grad program.
That's right.
That's a good point.
So blended learning is complicated, right? I mean, if you look at everything you have to do with in-person learning, then you add everything you have to do with online learning, all these interactions that you're trying to facilitate, their interactions with the materials, with you, with other students, and then having to facilitate those interactions both physically and online. It can be super complicated, really hard to do. And it doesn't come easily, as we kind of learned through the pandemic. So I'm curious, in the chat, tell me, where do you fall on the Farrell scale? This is a highly scientific scale, and I hope you understand it. But number one is blended teaching makes me want to cry. Number two is it makes no sense to me. 3 is I get it. And 4 is not only do I get it, but I am thrilled about blended teaching.
I can't wait
So-
to see these answers.
So in the chat, go ahead and put, where do you fall on the Farrell scale with blended teaching? And it kind of depends on the day.
I was gonna say, I'm 2 different ones.
2.5 for Nikki.
All right, Nikki, that's good. So Nikki, I'm hearing that I need to be more precise with the Farrell scale. Okay, yeah, I'm getting a lot of 2.5s. Okay, between 3 and 4. All right,
That's where I am.
Kathy,
Yes.
you're a solid 3. Sharon, you're a solid 3. All right, I like those that can commit. So thank you, Sharon. That's good. So it really depends where we are, but I'm not seeing too many 4s. Or when I saw a 4, it was like 3 or 4, depending on the day, I
No
guess.
ones. That's good.
That's
Or
good.
1s. That's good too. So we're not
That was a
crying
couple
over
years
our
ago.
glass of wine. Yeah. But now I want to hear what sparks joy for you for blended teaching. So go ahead and put that in the chat as well. So what has been sparking joy? Recondo, did anyone condo their home over the pandemic? I did. And
I've
the
heard
whole,
about it.
there's a Netflix series, and the whole idea is that you hold objects in your hand. You lay out all your objects, you hold them in your hand, and you think, does this spark joy for me?
Coffee sparks.
If it
joy.
does, you keep it and you keep using it. If it doesn't, you thank it. Thank you, water bottle. And then you get rid of it and give it away, right? So there are certain things that happened during the pandemic that we can hold on to and say, thank you, that was good during the pandemic, but I'm going to give that away. I don't need that anymore. And then during our remote teaching, things that happened that really sparked joy for us that we want to keep, right? So what has sparked joy for you with blended teaching? So that can be either during the pandemic or now during the new normal that we hear a lot about. What has been sparking joy for you? And you can go ahead and share your mic as well. If you want to raise your hand and turn on your mic, that'd be great. You can also turn on your webcams too, so we can see you, but that's not a requirement either. But we'd love to see you if
We're very
if at all
chill
possible.
here.
Yeah.
Very chill.
Safe space. While we're waiting, do you guys want to share some thoughts?
I was just
Go ahead.
gonna type in the chat, but for me, it's having students of all ability levels be able to have choice and actually take ownership because of that choice in their learning.
We have Jonathan here. He said blended learning offers the best of both worlds. I think it can allow student voice and choice in their learning. Absolutely agree, Jonathan.
And that's the thing for me. I think when I think about blended learning is the students' opportunity to express themselves, to show their strengths, and just see them invigorated and excited, inspiring others.
Yeah. I remember being in the classroom and trying to juggle everything, and you feel like you have 1,000,001 things in your hand going on, but blended learning and having videos and choice boards really helps with all that juggling.
I will say though that sometimes blended learning can combine the worst of both worlds, and that happens too. If it's poorly designed, like if you send students home to watch a video so you can lecture more in your classroom, which I've done before as a social studies teacher, then that's actually not probably a good thing. So not all blended learning is good, just like not all in-person learning is good. Rebecca, thanks for sharing this idea that implementing it. Okay, differentiation, student choice, student voice.
Mhm.
And Jonathan is piggybacking on that with UDL, Universal Design for Learning and Blended Learning. Those go great together. In fact, there's some great books that have come out on UDL and blended learning.
I was gonna say in the program when we were doing one of the papers, you were like, this actually fits perfectly. And
Yeah.
since I was like, wait, now I the UDL acronym I didn't know, but I knew the concept. And then in the program, I was like, nope, that's my
Makes sense
jam.
now.
Yep. And just provides choice in how they're learning. So Sharon, thanks for or is that
Shannon.
sorry, Shannon. Man, I need a new prescription. Okay. So we know that as professionals, we need to grow and we need to learn. So what makes for a great professional learning resource? And maybe we also want to say what makes for a bad professional learning resource. So when you pick up a book or you visit a website or go onto an app, what makes it good? What are you looking for? Or what sometimes do you find that is not helpful at all?
It's so hard not to shout out my own answers.
Feel free.
I like to see stuff. Like, I like to see it, like we hear about application or like, the research, and I like to see like, well, what does this mean in my room? What does this mean for my grade level?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of going on the opposite of what makes for a not good resource. Anything that's just like paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. I'm like overloaded with words, overloaded with paragraphs. I need some visuals. I'm a visual learner or examples.
I'm gonna connect with what Rebecca said. Being able to walk away with something to use.
Oh, yes.
It is not, it was a waste of my time, and we have such limited time if I can't walk away with something
Mhm.
to actually just go ahead and just put right into work.
Yeah.
Right. She also said relevant, and I think like relatable. Sometimes we read stuff that's just so filled with like all of the perfect keywords, and just to be able to read something like, in English, like that's just clear, like she said.
Definitely with Shannon, user friendly. Like there's a million and one different terms and acronyms out there, but just be specific, straight to the point. I agree.
Awesome. So I'm just curious, you can add this along the way. I don't think we'll pause here for too long, but we'd love for you to share your go-to professional learning resources. Maybe it's a website or another resource that we can share with each other. We'd love to see those. When we're developing our professional learning resource, we wanted to start with what is the goal, right? And so we actually did a lot of research. This was another team. I wasn't even on that team specifically, but they did a lot of research identifying the blended teaching competencies. And so through research, they identified these 4 competencies and 5 if you count technological skills and dispositions, which we do. But online integration is basically combining the best of both worlds, like what we're saying, right? That's the goal. So how do we do that? And what are the models to do that? How do we manage both the in-person and the online environments? Data practices, whenever I say that, I kind of see eyes gloss over, but people say, well, I'm not a data person. Well, you are a data person. We're constantly collecting data as we teach. Just as students move through your classroom, the exhaust is data, right? And so that might be visual data. Sometimes we're hearing street data and things like that. Personalization is when you give students choice in how they learn and when they learn and what they learn. Online interaction is kind of that, what it says, like interacting online with the teacher, with peers, and with others. Okay, Kathy, thanks for sharing that resource. That's helpful. Well, guess what? You all get a free resource. You get a book. You get a book. Kathy, Jonathan, Rebecca, you get books. Nikki, everybody, Lisa, you get books. So you won't leave here without a new resource. But wait, there's more.
He loves his little gifts. He loves them.
So if you go to the program, there will be more.
Yeah.
Plug. There will be more of it.
I lean totally into it. Okay, so when we wrote this first book, so you can see this was before this group, but when we wrote this book, we thought it was really good and it got lots of attention, like about 150,000 clicks at this point, which is pretty good. But we started evaluating. We asked people, what's good, what's not good. And we started hearing this, like what we're just talking about. Like, I teach first grade, and there are like 3 first grade examples. I need more first grade examples. Or I teach social studies, and there was like 2 social studies examples in the book. I need more social studies examples. So this was a little bit crazy, but we ended up doing additions for elementary education, for science education, for English language arts, for social studies, for math. And we're coming out with more world language. We're coming out with music. We're coming out with family and consumer science.
I think PE or something.
And PE and health is coming out next year. So you can get all this. Nicole, do you mind putting
Yep, I'm
that-
putting it
All right.
in the chat as well.
You're getting your free book here.
Books, that's lots of them.
So lots and lots of books. In fact, I'm going to just show you, walk you around just a little bit. So you come here. This is the first book. We're not throwing that out. It's still really helpful, and we refer back to that first book a lot. But you can see that we've shifted the metaphor. So before this was a puzzle where we piece it together, and now we've taken those competencies and now they're the roots of the tree that blooms into the leaves, which are the different content area. Yes, we hired a professional graphic designer to do that, so I'm very proud and paid for that. But
It works.
yeah, it works.
It
Yeah,
works.
but look at this. So you click on here, and look, Bridget,
Yeah.
me, Shawana Chambers, Nicole.
Hey.
Shawana Chambers, she's in Texas. She's an admin in Texas. And Chrissy isn't here, but she's in every other chapter because she's one of our teachers that we spotlight quite a bit. But when you go to this book, you start out, there's an introduction. This will save you so much time, by the way. You see that little arrow that you barely see? That's how you turn pages. So I love this platform. That's the one kind of annoying thing that took me years, and I'm not joking, before I figured that out. So you start with the preface, but then you get into these general chapters like an introduction to blended teaching teaching competencies, and then the PICRAT, which I love, in the 4 E's.
Mhm.
This is one chapter that I think is really great.
All the visuals.
All the
That makes me
visuals,
so
yes.
happy.
Okay. And then here we get into the discipline specific. So this is elementary education. So we have an introduction to elementary education, and then, hey, who's that?
That's me,
Yeah.
Chrissy.
And then we have lots of Bridget, Shawana, Nicole.
Oh man, that was a rough day.
Hey, we can fix that thumbnail. We have Emily Fox, she's in Hawaii. We have Liliana, who is in Texas. So we have teachers from around the country as well, that we have videos of, and these are very short. We originally, when I was advertising this, it was like, well, we have 56 videos, and then someone said, I don't want to watch 56 videos. Well, you don't have to. You can skip the videos, but all these are relatively short. And then we talk about why are they blending, so it's kind of their narrative on how they got there. And then we get into the competencies. So we have one on online integration and management, where we have the different models, and we'll go through all of these in our presentation.
And the great thing is the videos then explain what that looks like. So if you are not someone who likes all the text on the page, but you see a title and you're like, I'm thinking about my 5th graders and how text features we're learning, but you see a heading and you're like, oh, that's interesting, but my eyes are glazing over because I can't read anymore. It's 9 o'clock by the time I'm actually doing research, right? You can just play the video and it will give some more examples of what that looks like in a classroom, rather than having to kind of dive deeper. And you can, if that video sparks something, then you can go and take a look at the text.
And can use them and turn around PDs too in your school.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I do want to show is if you go to the YouTube channel, and this is how I always get there, but you'll see that we have people. You can see all of Bridget or Chrissy's videos, but you can also all of these videos. So we've got hundreds and hundreds, not hundreds and hundreds, I'm exaggerating. We have over 100 videos right now, but more are on the way. When we're done, we'll probably have a couple hundred videos on here.
And if you look at them again, I saw like one was like 3 minutes, one is 2 minutes and 50 seconds, 1 minute. They're very short, they're very direct to the point, little keys of information.
And that's why we did the editions, is that if you're in the social studies edition, you'll only see the social studies examples in those videos and things like that, right? So those are all the competencies that we have there. I do want to share, if you go to EdTech Books, this is where we are in the homepage. So if you forget that URL, just remember EdTech Books, and then you'll find it there.
I'll send it again in the chat.
One additional resource that is in the first book that isn't in all the other books is this blended design and practice. And if you click on that, this goes through how do you design the online environment, and there's lots of tips on creating content and things like that, right? Okay, so that's your free book.
Woo!
We talked about all this. So now let's get into the material. So let's talk about online integration a little bit. I'm curious, what models do you see in your classroom or in your building? Are you seeing or using the whole group rotation, the flip model, station rotation, flex, something totally new and different, which is exciting. But as you go, kind of put that in the chat. We'd love to see what you're seeing.
Mhm.
The other thing is lots of online integration models don't use those 4 models or those 5 models that we see a lot. There's kind of the workshop model that we saw, which is this mini lesson, tech guided student work, and then share and wrap up. We see the sandwich method. These are all very technical terms. With the in-person, online, and then in-person, and then you can flip that. You can have the reverse sandwich method, which I just made up, where you have online, in-person, and then online. You know, there's a million different ways of doing this.
Copyright it.
Yeah.
Reverse sandwich.
Hashtag reverse sandwich. That sounds
I hope you're getting from this that like our textbook isn't written in a very like, I mean, it's professional,
Whoa.
obviously, but it's not written in a way that's like you have to reread it to figure out the meaning.
No.
We want to write it. We wrote it like people,
Like we're talking right now.
like maybe a little better grammar, but the big thing though is starting small. And if you are a tech coach in your school, you can probably think of right now at least one teacher who is just like, nope, I'm sticking with my traditional way of doing things. But it really isn't meant to be overwhelming. As Nicole said earlier, it's something that when you're juggling so much, it's supposed to make your life better. And not just your life better, but your kids' life better. And then obviously that's a cycle and everyone's lives are better. So just starting small, whether they're already typing their kids are already typing in Google Docs or some other platform, or using Canva. I know a lot of teachers have been branching out into Canva, adding in that integration piece where kids can leave comments, teaching them. You're already teaching peer conferencing most likely in person when they're sitting there together, adding one little thing of, hey, why don't you go on the same document? And that sounds scary for teachers, but there's a history that teachers can see everything that was shared, every comment that was ever posted or things like that. So there is that record that if something happens, they're like, well, I don't know. Well, we also don't know when they're having conversations and there's 26 kids in the classroom, right? You're going to miss stuff. But there is a history of all that was talked about. And that's something that I know teachers in my school are like, well, what if some kid is writing something that we don't want to go home? Well, we can see it and that can easily be addressed. Or even just saying, hey, I've heard of Pear Deck. Just starting with only that, starting small, one tool, and then building it into other areas is all you really need to do to start feeling more to the fore in that Farrell scale.
And one way that we've kind of introduced this concept is that we start with problems of practice. So during those introductory chapters, we list some common problems of practice. And that's a great place, a good starting point for a lot of teachers to get into blended teaching, is they need to see how is this going to solve some problems? Because the goal is not to blend instruction, the goal is to improve instruction.
Mm-hmm. So one of the models that was mentioned is station rotation, and I have been a young elementary teacher. I'm right now at a school K-2. And so you might think technology, littles, OMG. But if you do station rotations or your teachers are doing it, that's a great way to put in that blended model of providing choice boards. And again, you could differentiate those with audio for directions, videos, all the visuals that we know those littles need. And then here I have an example of a teacher having on her smart board kind of the centers they're going to. But if you look more closely, some of those are reading to a partner with physical books, but then there's other activities such as Lexia and Starfall, which is using those iPads, using those as a center. And so the teacher has it organized. She knows where their students are. She knows what they're supposed to be doing. And they also know what they're supposed to be doing because that visual is there for them. So station rotation can also be used with the older students, but I personally think it's a great one to start off with your youngers.
Yeah, I think like Christy and I both teach upper elementary, 5th and 6th grade, and those station rotations then can just branch off to a little more choice where you say, okay, here's the options. You can take a pick Obviously, if you're working with littles, you're going to assign them because it's just easier. That's a lot of choice for them.
Yes, could be
Especially,
overwhelming.
yeah, very overwhelming. And then they're like, I don't know which to do. But that's something that having those choice boards gives them a little bit more, again,
A voice.
option and voice
Yeah.
and feel better about, oh, I know I'm going to get to this activity and all that.
So which I think leads perfectly right into the flex model. So I give a lot of choice in my classroom. So I collect data from the students through like maybe an exit ticket or something in Schoology. And when I get that information, that just kind of tells me like where I'm going with my next lesson. And I provide choice for my students. So like what you're looking at on is a couple of screenshots. So we're doing properties of real numbers. And that's something that students might want to take some time to explore that interactive image on the bottom left. And they're going to learn a little bit more about the properties. There's the Quizlet. There's an article, there's a song, there's a video that they could play. Or distributed property is one of the ones that a lot of the students are stuck on. They don't quite understand how to distribute the thing outside the parentheses. So then there was some independent work like, hey, you could choose this and you can work through that. Students who got it and they understand, there was an option at the bottom. You see it has like the triangles and circles, and it's a groundworks option for the students to be able to just kind of work through this challenging problem solving. Or the properties concentration, they can grab a partner and they can play a game. And I'm able to then facilitate and walk around the room and just use the data to be able to pull small groups and say like, you know, hey, let's go over this, or like, let me go work with the kids that are doing the distributed property. And it allows for that choice for the students who are ready to move on. Like when we have videos I have videos embedded in my lessons, and I always tell the kids like some of them need to slow me down because I'm a fast talker, and they'll listen to me. They'll slow down the speed, and some of them I say make me sound like a chipmunk, and double time speed me and just get through the video and make sure you get all the content. So everybody's kind of learning at a different place, and this helps just meet students where they are.
So you're kind of using the flexible model with the substitute tests. Like if you're planning for a substitute and it's really, really easy because it's all on the website already, then you know that you're using the flexible model, right? Or if a student comes back and said, what did I miss when I was gone? You say, check the website, then you're kind of using the flexible model. Or really, they wouldn't be asking you what they missed when they were gone because they already know where to go.
And if I could just add too, it kind of looks like a lot, but I think back to Bridget's point of start small, this started with, you know, year one of me starting to collect these items. And then year two, I was like, okay, well, I noticed that this was a problem in my classroom, so I added more items. And so this is over time with my team and over time with getting student feedback and understanding what my students are learning, where the mistakes were, that it started to grow.
And so you feel free to mix things up. Our classrooms, our schools, depending on whatever your role is, changes every single moment. I was thinking of my co-teacher. He was like, I can't give you a schedule because it's going to change. I said, I need a flexible schedule, like things, and a probable will happen, but we always know at school that's not always the case. So I most likely don't do a single model, and most of you guys won't. Most people won't just stick with only centers or like only station rotation or only flexible, right? We're flexible in humans, right? So in the textbook, it might say one, but in reality, Mondays, I might start with my flex model where everyone is getting my video lesson, and then they have a quick check. So the next day I can figure out what my small groups are. With those videos, like Chrissy said, they can either slow down, or I found one of my kids trying to do the quick check by himself, but he went back into the video and watched an example all over again to check how did I do it on a different problem, and then applied it. So it was just very cool to see how that works, but I'm not going to do that every single day. Maybe as I'm like Christy said, as you keep making videos, you can have that available for all the different parts, but I know that's one for me, my population, I need to have small groups in person, but also I don't yet have the time to sit every night and make videos. So if I have it, I know at the very beginning of every unit or every part of the unit, that's where we start out, and then I start my small groups. And it's also a choice board in a way. Kids choose if they want to do, so it's kind of a caveat. The M is Miss Josco. A is at your seat. So this is independent work. T is technology, and H is hands-on. So that's partner games.
Oh, cool.
M is always you must do. If it says video, everyone's starting there. If it says small group, they know when I call them, whatever else they're working on, they need to stop and come join me on the rug. But otherwise they have choice. sometimes I will highlight something and they know that's what they have to do before they get to choose between the ATH. So the quick check, that time, for example, again, this changes on a daily basis, but the quick check on Tuesday's station rotation isn't highlighted because they were getting the quick check when they left me. But if it is highlighted, they know before they go to anything, that's where they're starting, regardless if they've met with me or not. So that's something that as we've gone through the year, the kids have figured out as our coding. And then I always give choice in their videos between different strategies as well.
Okay, so this is a big part of it, and this is a big concern that teachers have, is how do I manage all of this, right? And so we just want to share some quick tips, but also I'm going to ask you at the end of this, what tips do you have? So you can start adding those as well, because we'd love to hear what tips you have or what advice you give to teachers or that you use as a teacher.
So these are just a couple of my favorite tips and that I use, or we use as a school and on our team, our classrooms. The students, I always tell them that screens need to be facing me because we have to circulate the room, right, to see what they're doing and be able to have conversations and just kind of peek on what, well, it just helps minimize the distractions. So students know not to have their backs against the wall, that they need to sit like away from the wall. I have some surf desks in my room, or just get a chair and they just prop the computer up on their chair. And then I get to watch kind of what's going on and monitor.
I like that.
In upper elementary, yeah, backs against the wall.
Yes.
Is
No.
They're going to be playing
Right.
games.
And you learn to like watch their body language, you know, like when you come by and they're doing like, you know, quick button touches, you know, that something's going on. I can see the reflection in their glasses. If they're enjoying it a little bit too much, I know that I'm cool, but I'm not that cool. So sometimes like that's a giveaway too. Another thing like that, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like super need to be organized. So the first year that we had all these chargers, I was overwhelmed. It was like a charger zoo and there were just like cords everywhere. And I'm like, I can't do this. So our SFITs at the school, he first numbered all of them. So they're like Sharpied and they're numbered like 1 through like, 800. So we know what kid has what. We have a spreadsheet, but on top of that, I didn't know what number all the kids were. So we just took painter's tape and we put it on the cords because they can easily take them off with no sticky residue. And then I just handwrite the kids' names on it. So that way, when there's cords plugged in around the room, we know that they who they belong to. And our students switch classes too. So it's really detrimental because then we know that, cords are not getting lost. So that's a big game changer. And then I forgot what this was. Oh, the students, I know the shortcuts. So I always ask them like, hey, tell me like, what did you do? Like I learned that 3 fingers, when you swipe up, it's changing their desktop screen. So the kids will have like their desktop screen of the things they're not supposed to be doing. And then the desktop screen of the things they're supposed to be doing. So that like really helps me know. And I know like what like icon to look for when I walk around, just to see like if you have multiple desktops open. And then just understanding like what some of the quick commands are, because I know what they're pressing on the keyboard. Like I know how to do that too. And I show them like, hey guys, I know it too. I might be old, but I still can figure it out. And they love to teach me this stuff. So I think just staying on top of the shortcuts is super helpful in organizing.
And then Jonathan also had the tip to have the names on the devices, which is
yes. So in Fairfax County, we have like a little pocket and it goes on like the computer and then there's a card that identifies them. So that's super helpful too. Absolutely.
I think that last slide is a perfect one to share with your teachers to like, this is a heads up.
Yeah.
You want to know it too.
Stay on top of it, right? It changes.
Yeah.
Like the kids are like little like keyboard ninjas. The stuff that they could do, it's bananas, like from where like when I started, when we first got laptops, it's like, where's the power button? And now they're like little programmers. So another thing that I like to do, I say like, hey guys, human me is talking. So lower your screens. We just call it clamshell. So they just, that way it doesn't go off and they have to restart, because how frustrating is that when they have to like wait for it to power on. And so we just lower your screens, or I'll say like, I know that you're ready to listen when your screens are lower, and I walk around and be like, oh, thanks so much. And I'll give, I know that I don't like to be interrupted. Like if I'm doing something from reading and the teacher's like, hey, I need your attention. So I'll give the kids like a warning, like, just wrap up the last sentence that you're reading, or just kind of, hey, finish real quickly. And then I need your attention. And then when they lower their screens, and I just kind of know they're as ready as they can be to listen to me.
I observed a student in a classroom where they spent half of the class just starting the computer. So that can save so much time.
Yeah. We were in a session yesterday, and other than clamshell, she used Taco.
Yeah, just
or kids with iPads. It was like tell it to go and take a little nap and like be really soft with it. Cause like saying flip the iPad, they're like, flip. So instead just be like, be very dramatic and like talk to your iPad and go to sleep. I was like, I love that because little kids eat that up.
That's funny. I used to have my students hug their
Yep.
history textbook.
We hug the iPad, hug a library book. Yes.
So this is a screenshot, and I'm pretty sure I put the video on top of it too. So if you wanted to use it, but I just show the kids, this is our first day of math together. I have a list on my website of these are the things that I want you to bookmark, and we do this on day one. And then the video is just me showing them how to bookmark. So my bookmark bar is folders. Like I'm a bookmark junkie, but I have everything like separated into like, so I have a math folder, and then in the math folder, I have like all my primary stuff at the top, and we've renamed stuff. So that way it's easy. They don't have to go to an email or go into Schoology and then click on the tabs at the, the little icons at the top. If you have one of those, or however you have it organized, they just have them use bookmarks. So that has been also like a game changer in being ready right away for math time. The kids know they walk in, they open up their laptop, and I see them on my website and they're ready to go. Notebook's open, and it makes me so happy.
Yeah.
So kind of going with Jonathan said with the names and how our school, this is one of our first graders, we were doing a coding, but I was like, perfect shot for the name tag. Our teachers usually have the name of the student, their username, and then the password. But one like little tip I found out is putting the password in all caps, because that's what they're seeing on their keyboard. All the letters are
yeah.
capital. It wasn't me, it was another teacher.
You're so smart.
It's my first year as a tech coach, and I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. So that's why on the password, like, and also making it age appropriate. I know like some kids love to make up their own passwords, and if they're older and they're capable of doing that, for littles, I kind of did it for the whole school, and we reused the same 5 words: bobcat, bed bug.
Don't
like,
tell us. We'll find.
but it was like just age appropriate words using those reading skills for our littles. But yeah, the caps thing, I was like mind blown on that. I was like, I got to use that for future use. And then for littles, I know you talked about chargers, the laptop carts, they're just lifesavers. They have the name tags on them and stickers that could come off really easily each school year as you change your classes. And again, the students kind of know where to put their laptops or iPads and plug them in. So it's very specific for them, and teaching that responsibility of doing it on their own. And another great thing, you don't have chargers all over the place, because that makes me like, oh.
And then something that I just did in my classroom, I don't know if I learned this from Instagram or I saw
Pinterest.
it used by books, and I was like, let's do it with a laptop. I don't think that this was my idea, but just using a pot lid holder, like on Amazon, they're probably like $10. And they hold and separate computers. So while they're charging, so you'll see, shows in the picture, there's only 2 plugs. So there actually is on a different photo that I didn't put on the slide, a power strip, and the kids just plug in there and they have all their computers. So when especially if students are not using their computers properly, I say, okay, go put it in the rack, and it's in the back of the classroom in a safe position, not on the floor. Or when I say, okay, we need to transition, all computers are going in the racks and we need to take out our reading notebook. That gives them also a movement break to go put it in there.
Those power strips are like, each classroom, we get 3 of them, and they're for SOL testing, and they're the long, like, plugs in 10.
Yeah.
So we have them around my room. So they can't all congregate at the back near like the one charger, because everybody's laptop's dead and they want to charge it at the same time, AKA talk to each other. So I'm like, no, I have charger here and here and here. So you can all separate.
Chargers for
There's pot lid before I had the classroom that I'm in right now, where I have a lot of counter space. It was a way to have them up on the floor in those areas, but the computers wouldn't be available to be stepped on. I just had those pot lid racks on the floor where they could then divide them, and then they weren't in a spot where feet would get them.
Yeah.
So we'd love to hear what you are doing to manage your blended environments. Like I said, Nikki, thank you for sharing that comment. And I will say that we're talking about LED, but in the other books, we do talk about the secondary ed. So we have about 20 minutes left, right? So we've talked about one pillar. Where do we go to next? Does anyone have a vote? Do we talk about data practices, personalization, or
Choosing your
online
path.
integration?
Ooh.
We're blending,
Yeah.
right, to the presentation.
So any votes? Anybody? Okay, well, no question mark, put an
Nikki has
exclamation point
spoke.
there, because that's where we are going, Nikki.
Perfect.
Thank you. No wishy-washiness here. We are
I'm a
all
wishy-washy.
in, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about data practices just quickly here. So when we look at data, there's tons of data. So when we described it in the book, we kind of identified 3 types. So there's learner profile data. That's like their background or behavior and things like that. Not behavior, but their background. And then activity data is their behavior and what they're doing. Their performance is how well are they performing. And we care about these types of data because it allows us to differentiate instruction. And we know that if we differentiate instruction, we will increase learner engagement. And we know if we can increase learner engagement, then we can improve learning outcomes. So you with me there? So this is really important. This is the fuel that results in improved learning outcomes, but it takes a few steps.
And so there's so many ed tech programs that will get data for you, but also be something that you can put in your choice boards or your flex model, and either you can create it or it already creates it for you. So some of the examples that I have just in my class alone that I get snapshot information for is I'm in Fairfax County, so we use Lexia. This gives me information for my small groups in reading. It lets me know if I need to give any intervention. And it shows me where the kids are working on or maybe getting stuck. Edpuzzle, I use a lot of, especially in science and social studies. If you haven't used it, it gives you the ability to either upload your own video or use one that many teachers have already created, which are pretty fabulous. And sometimes you'll find ones where teachers have already put in all their questions, but it stops the video and kids can't go past until they answer the question. So they can go back. But on the left bottom corner is an example of one of my students. I see that she finished it, but she only got 8 of her responses correct. This lets me know that even with the video, she wasn't quite understanding that concept. It was on plate tectonics in science. And I was able to then pull my small group to just kind of revisit those couple questions, or decide, you know what, I know I'm going on to that part later again and revisiting it, so I'm not going to pull that group. And then Pear Deck. Pear Deck just changed a little bit to make you have to pay for a lot of the features. However, their number one, I think for math, is really awesome. If you hover over the dots, this is where I had a math problem. The kids would type in their answers as one of their exit tickets. And I can go in and see, I have a couple of outliers very clearly. I can hover over those dots and see the name of the students who got it wrong just by them plugging in their numbers. This is a moment where I was like, okay, I don't need to go and see how they did it. I just need to see, can they do it? One of those quick data pieces. And instantly there, I can see 3 of my students were not on target or even close. They're going to be the ones that I'm going to revisit on those word problems with. And it's really fast data that they give you. They have other strategies where you have to read them all, but I like using the numbers for math.
We've actually interviewed teachers on how they use like adaptive learning software and all the data that it provides it, and they become so overwhelmed, so they use none of the data, right? And so I think when you're working with teachers, show them 1 or 2 things to do with the data.
Start small.
Yep, and grow.
So I have to say, I didn't even think to put it in this presentation, but Desmos is one that I use that I absolutely love because it's live and you give the kids a code and there's all these problems they work through and it codes it. So like the screen will show up like red next to a question, you know, you just pop over to kids around the room and kind of help them through. So it's super awesome, great tool. But this is a little bit less tech savvy, but exit tickets, I'll either give them like a Google form, like I said, Schoology before, or this is just a slide deck. So the kids just had to answer a couple of quick questions. I actually gave this while I was away and I noticed that there was a lot of errors on questions 1 and 2. So I wound up recording a quick video and I left it on my website and I asked the substitute just left directions there to, hey guys, just play this and watch it. Because I wanted to make sure they were getting the test right when I came back. And I wanted to make sure that they understood the mistake that was made because I wasn't there teaching it. yes, they watched my videos and they were able to get the lesson from the website, but I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any misconfusion or misunderstanding. I don't know that that's a word. So they watched this and they were able to correct the mistake. Instead of me, if I was there, I'd be able to pull them to my desk and have quick conversations. But it's great to just kind of throw up a video and use this. And you can throw it into one of those station rotations or the flex model.
And we also do the traditional quick checks and exit tickets. Not every one of mine is virtual. I don't only use virtual data. I still use the traditional paper quick check that I'm going and taking a look. And so that we're not saying get rid of those. It's just additional things that you can use to get the computer to work well for you.
Especially like for math, like when you want to see their work, you want to see their thinking, like I'll opt for paper for those types of things. If it's a quick, like just A, B, C, D, and they're not a lot of work, then I can use something online for that.
So Nicole, I put this on here. Do you remember
Yeah, I
that?
was like,
Okay.
man, this is a throwback. It's just funny seeing how you're doing like that type of math, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then we're here with Google Forms and some visuals for our students, but like I came from, this is from a previous school, but it was a high ELL school, and those visuals, we know how important they are. And Google Forms, you can easily embed those in. So along with the questions and again, collecting that data, the visuals help them along the way. And then on the right-hand side was another one, just asking them, how did you feel about the pretest, and giving me a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, this could easily be done, but using the Google form, it's collecting that data. So if maybe I don't have time till later during my planning or eating my lunch and checking really quick, to then be adaptable and flexible for the next time I go over those lessons. It's just collecting those data points and
private too, so it gets
right. Yeah, that's a great point. Like some friends are a little bit hesitant to share in front of others. And so, I mean, not me, I'm like, I'll tell you everything. But we're seeing some great ones coming through in the chat too. I know that Nearpod was mentioned. I switched counties and I lost all my Nearpods and was like heartbroken. So just keep that in mind.
So we'd love to hear how you're doing it. You know, Jonathan, you shared Google Forms or Microsoft Forms. So any other ways that you're collecting and using data with your students? And while we wait, we can also say, where do we go to next? Any enthusiastic
Personalization or
Personalization.
online interaction.
We're down to these two.
Dun, dun, dun. I've never used Microsoft Forms.
Bridget, you don't need Nerd Alert. We're all
Oh my gosh, when I go when I like check to see like on the Google form and I go to look at the overview, seeing like the pie charts. I don't know why I love a pie chart. It just looks so nice, even if it's showing me really problematic stuff. And then
You're like, oh, and then
it looks pretty.
I'm respecting Jonathan's answer. Just go in order. That's me.
just going over.
What's next?
Okay, all right, Jonathan. Fine. Okay, and then we can also stop for Q&A at the end. We'll leave about 5 minutes. So, okay, personalization. So, by the way, I went to a conference on personalization, and the whole time they were talking about what personalization wasn't, but they never said what it was. So, how we're defining personalization is it's giving students choice, and they're learning time, place, pace, and path, right? So when we look at these three are probably the easiest to do, and we're seeing this a lot. If you have an LMS, you have a website, you create a video, you do all these things, you're automatically kind of allowing them or giving them some time, flexibility in their time and place of learning. And it can also allow you to increase their flexibility and pace of learning. There's lots of examples. This is one from a student in our program called Corey, and I just love because he was using Google Classroom and the Google Docs. So he didn't really have a robust LMS, but he's able to create a lot. And he had like a great video clip starting with that. He started with an orientation video, and then he created these great documents with like cassette tapes where he had to teach them what cassette tapes were. But if you see up top here, what's the movie Guardians of the Galaxy? So that's what this clip was actually, of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So they knew what that was. And so then he also had a checklist, all these things where students could go through on their own, and you're giving them flexibility and personalization in that way. This is another one using Google Sites, which was again created by someone in our program that lays things out really clearly.
And again, that does take some time
Yeah.
to create. It wasn't like sitting down for an hour and boom, boom, boom. Like it does take some time.
But once you've developed a pattern, it's
Yeah.
easier to kind of copy those templates over at different pages.
And
yeah.
reuse.
Yeah.
And so definitely already hit on this one, but I create videos for a variety of different reasons. So it's just to introduce and teach the content. It could be to review when I get an assessment and I see that we call them red questions, the questions that as a whole class that we didn't really do well on. So I'll create a video out of those. It could be one-on-one. A student is saying like, hey, I really don't understand this concept. And so I'll create a video for them if we don't have one-to-one time, because they are committed to doing different things. And I'll record my screen, put their exit ticket up and just kind of write on it. It's just maybe 2-3 minute video and I shoot it to them in an email. I put it on Drive and give them the link. So there's a variety of reasons to create video, but what the kids really love is that they can just digest those at their own pace and their own time, and they can kind of go back to it and watch it over and over again as they need.
Yeah, if you are great, if you're someone who teaches writing, right, that's going to also be very helpful because we can't get to every student when they all want us to, and we want to get to all of them. Having that moment to just make a video to give them feedback, you can share it with them, and then they feel, well, one, they feel heard, they feel seen, and you're able to get them their next steps in a way that is not too overwhelming. Obviously it's work to put into it, but you're not feeling like you're missing kids, which is the worst feeling ever.
So then personalizing path can be harder because this is allowing students choice in not only how they learn, but sometimes what they learn or how they demonstrate their learning. But we're seeing more and more of this. So here's some examples.
I
Yeah.
like your font.
Oh my goodness. I worked in the past couple of years. We've become a Schoology county in Fairfax. We use Schoology a lot. And so I try to update, and I've played around with Schoology a lot to make it look really happy. But where I have that T right in the beginning, we showed the my flex model mixed with station rotation options. Their tech options are available, so they can go and click on any of them and choose. Again, I will have a highlight connected back to my must-dos that I mentioned earlier. If it's highlighted yellow, that's a must-do and will be graded. Otherwise, they get some options in their tech if they decide to do the T. I also tried to have some options for my videos when possible. So here I was seeing quick checks. Half my class was ready to move on to 2-digit divisors. We're learning how to divide, and half the class was not ready yet. So I made 3 videos. One, digit divisors, there's one using the traditional model of division, and then one using a box method, which is where kind of my class kind of separated. I would have added another if kids are doing well with a different strategy, but I've realized this year those 2 strategies is all that I need. And then my third option was for students who wanted to do 2-digit divisors and try that out. Really cool was then most of my kids who did the 1-digit divisor videos then chose to go watch the 2-digit divisor video. They had that choice because it was there, but they weren't feeling pressured that right now you have to be at 2-digit divisors when they weren't. A little less tech heavy is my example for Panther Time. That's what we call our intervention block. I have my must-dos. These are kids who are still needing to have some time to finish something. And that's also, if they know I call them over, that's a must-do regardless. But then there's can-do items. We have our podcasts, reading, writing, a project that we're currently working on, which was Canva book pages. And that gives them choice in their intervention time if they know that they don't have to go and meet with their speech teacher or a different teacher if they have advanced math or whatever.
So for choice boards, what I like about this one in particular is it's digital. So this is a Google drawing. Thank you so much. It's a Google drawing. And then so all of the words are hyperlinked, and they hyperlink like out to an individual slide deck. So like if they click on math poetry, they're going to get a slide deck. It's a recorded video of me or my teammate just kind of presenting what we want them to do. Then it hyperlinks out to templates of like different formats of poetry if they want to use like a diamante or an acrostic or different types of poems. And then it just kind of guides them through the process, versus like if they choose math comics, same thing, they're going to get a video, me explaining, and then a template of what they can use as a springboard into the concept. So this was really like self-serve, and we didn't have to answer any questions. We kind of thought of it ahead of time.
And you reuse it over and over, right, which is great. Yeah.
But also for the drawing like if I clicked on my view of it, we had other ones that we can pull onto the tic-tac-toe board and take off. So it was fresh as well.
So Rebecca just asked a really good question about how high school, because we were talking a lot about elementary examples, and how blended learning would look in a high school. You can do a choice board with your older kids. It's just going to be obviously not as basic, right? They're going to be able to have that choice in, so Chrissy teaches AAP, seventh, so she's doing 7th grade math, advanced academics, and she's able to say, okay, here's my higher learning or higher styled projects, and giving them choice in what their final project is, or having choice in which, again, video they want to do, or if they want to do a video for math or science or whatever, versus coming to a small group and having half the class working on a video, if that's what they choose that day, or if they're choosing to meet with you. There's a lot of flexibility in that blended. With that integration piece, it's just now adding in that extra layer of having choice makes it blended. Having ability to change up, going back and collaborating with each other makes it blended. Everyone doing one thing at the same time, that's integration. Having those options in how their path is going, or even just collaborating virtually with each other, that makes it blended.
Yeah, and I'll just point you to the other resources as well. We know we're focusing on LED here. We kind of had to make a choice, but all those other books have those personalization chapters that you can kind of review. And I think a lot of these principles still apply, but we do want to see or hear other teachers describing that as well. So there are those descriptions and
high school videos, high school teachers giving you videos and things like that.
So we'll end here, and we can hang out if any questions that you might have. But again, the resource is here for you. We hope that you use it. Let us know. And also, if you know of anyone in those other content areas that we haven't written the books yet, let me know, because we'd love to speak with them and maybe spotlight them in the books as well. So just let us know. We'd love to stay in touch. One other thing I'd like to share with you is that we have a blended teaching readiness survey. So this lets you know where you are individually or as a building. So you can kind of go and let me know, and we can give you a code, and then we can give you a report for your whole building with this, and then it gives them a score on these different competency areas. So anyway, thank you for attending and for participating throughout the session. We hope you're leaving with something good. And
Don't forget to stop by Booth.
I forgot.
5:18.
5:18. Yes.
It's not this watch, this is mine.